We are actually ahead of time, so apologies to all those that won't be here on time like we are. Very welcome at the press conference following the first ever European Union-Armenia Partnership Council. High Representative Vice President Federica Mogherini and Foreign Minister of Republic of Armenia, Zorab Mnatsakanyan, will say a few words, and I think we will have time for one or two questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. First of all, let me say how pleased I am to receive you, Mr. Minister, together with your delegation for the first ever, I hope, first of many, EU-Armenia Partnership Council. We had a very good and intense session, extremely productive. We started very early this morning and managed to be even on time. Extremely productive and extremely positive. Relations between the European Union and Armenia have gone from strength to strength in recent weeks and months. The most visible illustration of this is our new bilateral agreement, the Comprehensive and Enhanced Partnership Agreement. And I saw and heard from the Minister today a very strong commitment to further implement the agreement, which was ratified, I would like to stress this, unanimously in the Armenian Parliament and has been provisionally applied now since the 1st of June. The EU-Armenia Comprehensive and Enhanced Partnership Agreement is an ambitious agreement that can play a very important role, in particular in bringing benefits to Armenian citizens, but also to the European Union citizens. Through approximation with EU rules and standards, this will help attract EU investments to Armenia, stimulate trade with the European Union, and develop a modernized infrastructure. Now coming to our Partnership Council, obviously we discussed all of this, the state of play and the way forward for the implementation of the agreement. We addressed a range of different topics. First of all, we agreed on the importance of combating corruption. The Minister stated a very strong new government's clear commitment to this that I appreciate, and the concrete action that is already taken in this field by the government. More broadly, on reform, I was glad to hear about the government determination and very ambitious agenda with a focus on public administration and on the judiciary, which is an agenda that has our full support, and I assured the Minister on the EU intention and readiness to accompany this process every single step of the journey. The European Union is ready to continue supporting Armenia's reform process across a range of issues, including not only fight against corruption or the reform of public administration and the judiciary, as I mentioned, but also the related and interconnected issues of economic development and business environment, as well as the promotion of human rights and measures to restore trust in elections. With this in mind, the European Union has earmarked more than 160 million euros in financial assistance for Armenia for the years 2017-2021. Upcoming visits of our teams, European Union teams, to Armenia will discuss now how the European Union can support the reforms in the country. The partnership priorities that we signed last February guide the provision of EU financial assistance for Armenia over the coming years. We focus today, and we want our work, our common work, first and foremost to bring tangible benefits for the citizens of the country and also for the European Union citizens. Let me also commend Armenia for the positive contribution it gives to our Eastern Partnership and also the positive role played by the country at the last summit of the Eastern Partnership, but now and in the months to come on the implementation of the decisions we took during the summer summit. Our common commitment is to advance cooperation based on the 20 deliverables for 2020 that we defined together. They will shape our common work for the next couple of years. The implementation of the 20 deliverables depends ultimately on the reform work of the partner countries across the different areas of good governance and market economy, but the European Union is fully determined to accompany this process with all our instruments. We also discussed in our restricted session this morning other issues that are less related to the reform agenda. We discussed, obviously, the need to get to a peaceful resolution solution for the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict that we see as a conflict that needs an early political settlement. We continue to fully support the mediation efforts and proposals of the OSCE Minsk Group co-chairs, and we will continue to accompany the process with all our determination. We also discussed a number of regional issues. On Turkey, the European Union supports the normalization of relations between Armenia and Turkey, and we encourage both sides to continue to engage in this process without preconditions. We also discussed the implementation of the nuclear agreement with Iran. I was pleased to hear the minister's support to our work to preserve the nuclear deal with Iran, and we discussed ways to work together in that direction. We also addressed the situation in Syria that is of high concern for both of us, and I would like here to recognize and commend the hospitality and the protection that Armenia is giving to Syrian refugees that we also support financially. For the future, from what I've seen today, but I had no doubt, I have high hopes that the European Union-Armenia relations will make even greater progress in a spirit of partnership. That is the word we use to name our meetings and our agreements today. So we will work very closely together to ensure a successful implementation of our new agreement. And I was really pleased, Mr. Minister, to hear from you the determination of your government on the reform agenda, on the European Union partnership, on the partnership with the European Union, and on the perspective of working even more closely together in the months and years to come. So thank you very much for your presence here together with your delegation, and looking forward to continue the journey together.
Minister Mnatsakian.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Vice President, Representative Mogherini, for the very warm welcome. This is indeed a very symbolic, important time in our relations, in that we have gathered for the first Partnership Council after the signing of the comprehensive and enhanced partnership agreement, and it is also happening at a time when, which follows the important developments in Armenia. Indeed, we have reconfirmed and emphasized the important mandate, the fundamental mandate that the government has from the people, from the public of Armenia, to strengthen the principles of constitutional order, rule of law, democratic principles, promotion and protection of rights, for fairness and equal opportunities in every activity, economic, social and other activity in the country, and the government is absolutely determined and very forceful to take this mandate forward and to deliver on the expectations of the public and to deliver on the mandate that the government firmly has for this purpose. And I also thank you very much for the support of the European Union, of the support and the readiness to work with us in promoting this agenda. You have been an important partner for Armenia on these matters, and we expect to take this further and to manifest it in support and assistance from the European Union. Our discussions today have focused, obviously, as the first EU-Armenia comprehensive, as the first Partnership Council has been taking place following the activation of the provisional application of the agreement. We focused on the implementation of the agreement. It is, for us, it's a landmark agreement in that it is not only the foundation of our relations, the legal foundations, but it's also a very important instrument for Armenia to advance its reforms, and also an expression of partnership based on the system of values that we share. We focused on specific aspects of the implementation of the SAPA, on its sectoral partnership in such fields as trade, energy, transport, communications, and others. We have talked about the elaboration of a roadmap for the implementation of the SEPA. I just already mentioned that the SEPA has this phase of provisional application following the ratification of the agreement in the Armenian Parliament. So we do look forward and encourage all our partners, member states of the European Union, to accelerate the process of ratification in their parliaments. We have discussed the partnership priorities, EU-Armenia partnership priorities. It is another significant document that regulates and guides our cooperation. We also informed our partners in the European Union that we have been re-establishing the Interagency Commission, which is tasked to coordinate and monitor the implementation of the SEPA in our activities, in our work domestically. We stressed our commitment to actively interact with the Eastern Partnership within the Eastern Partnership framework. We attach importance to the Eastern Partnership 20 deliverables for 2020. We have exchanged information on the steps that have been already implemented in this regard. It is our conviction that this targeted action can contribute to the promotion of regional coherence, cooperation and dialogue between the EU and the Eastern neighbours and amongst the partners themselves. We also exchanged views on launching the visa liberalisation dialogue. It is an important commitment from the Riga summit on the Eastern Partnership. We are taking steps on our side to we have been consistently taking our action, making steps towards the successful implementation of the visa facilitation and readmission agreement, and we are looking forward to move on with this agenda, and we insist to be judged on our own merit. And we also emphasize that visa liberalization is important in many ways, not least and perhaps mostly in that it will promote the people-to-people contact, promote more interaction amongst our public, and that is a very, very good way of fundamentally strengthening the relations we have with the European Union. We also, of course, we exchanged views on various issues on our international agenda, and the High Representative, Madam Mogherini, has already underlined the areas in which we have strong cooperation, and we share views and we work together on various issues of the global agenda. And amongst those, we have, of course, discussed the issue of Syria, the Iran nuclear deal, and amongst other things, we also, of course, discussed the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. We have reiterated the position of the government on this, its strong commitment to the peaceful settlement of the conflict. Within the internationally agreed format of the OSCE Minsk Group co-chairmanship, I have once again underlined the emphasis we put on promoting an environment conducive to peace, and also we do rely on our partners in the European Union amongst its member states to make their contribution to such an environment which is conducive to peace, and to take such actions which do not work in the opposite direction. Then I would, in this context, I would want to welcome and express our deep appreciation for the very consistent and strong support of the European Union to this process, the peaceful process within the OSCE Minsk Group co-chairmanship. I would like to thank you very much for the hospitality and hosting us today, for organizing the first council meeting. We have an excellent agenda together, and this was the first meeting we had today. We had an opportunity to meet briefly in New York when you were visiting and attending an important Security Council meeting, but this is the first time I have the opportunity in this new capacity to meet you, and I really thank you very much. I feel very comfortable and very confident, and thank you very much for all that friendship and partnership that you have been sharing and you have been so generous to give. So once again, I look forward to continued work, continued cooperation, and continued engagement with you. We have an interesting and important agenda, whether it concerns our relations between Armenia, European Union, its member states, or whether it concerns the global agenda. The way in which we have managed to conduct this meeting, we finished our work much earlier, and this is an indication that we can work very productively and very, constructively and efficiently. And I want this spirit to be sustained, and I think we have excellent work to do together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We have time for one or two questions, if there are any. Ricard.
Thank you. Ricard Josiak, Radio Free Europe. A question for Madame Mogherini. There was talk a bit about the visas. So when do you think the visa liberalization action plan can be presented to Armenia? Will it still be this year during your mandate? And from then on, I know that you don't like crystal balls and stuff like that, but when can we look at a similar situation, a visa lib situation for Armenia, similar to that of Georgia, Ukraine, and Moldova?
We discussed the launching of visa liberalization dialogue during our council, and I know how important this is for not only the government but for the citizens of the country, and I understand it fully. As you know very well, we have two different steps, somehow, two different phases. Today we discussed about the implementation of the visa facilitation and readmission agreements that we have in place. As you know, this is somehow a technical requirement to move forward to the next step. So this was, I think, a good and useful exercise we did today in the presence of all the member states that join us as always for our council meetings. And that technical precondition then could lead to start a visa liberalization dialogue with visa-free regime as a final goal. That is a decision in the hands of the Council that requires a Council decision. As you know, it's a question to be put more to Member States than to myself. What I can say is that, again, the visa facilitation and readmission agreement with Armenia is being implemented well. There are always margins for improvement. We discussed them today. And overall, I think this is a positive area for our cooperation.
One more question and then we conclude.
Hi, my name is Ben from Political Europe. Question on the financial support. I believe you outlined 160 million for the upcoming period, which seems to be which seems to be a modest increase on the previous 120 million since 2014. What does it signal for future relationship between Armenia and the EU? Because the advances seem to be quite modest in its scope. And does it signal a potential status quo for the near future? Thank you.
No, I would say that the amount of money we earmark for this period is a significant one. We discussed that today with a certain satisfaction, I think, on both sides. We have an intense agenda, and this agenda needs the adequate financial resources to be allocated to support the work that is underway and that we expect to continue. And let me also stress that this money obviously is for the current period, but also that, as you might have noticed, we presented together with Commissioner Hahn, but also Commissioner Stylianides and Commissioner Mimica, the Commission proposals for the next MFF, where we allocate more resources overall for our external action, with a priority on our neighborhood, and that includes definitely our eastern partners. So I would expect that the financial focus the Union will have will not only be kept, but also increase in the future. That's my hope and expectation. Then future decisions will be in future hands.
Thank you very much. Before I conclude, just to let you know that there is also a joint press statement available already online and in paper. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much.
It was really nice words. It's true that we met in New York.
Yeah.